Hello everybody and welcome back to a new episode of the TSTT Time. I'm your host Mirko and hope you're having an awesome day today. Let's move the microphone ever so closely closer to me. So, alright, now I can actually... So, for whatever reason, second screen is not in the position where it's usually. I did some more coding on the Pokemon Team Manager. Today is a .NET day because it's Donnerstag in German. That means it's .NET. Get it? Yeah, so the Pokemon Team Manager is coming along. What I was finally able to do was include the sign up in particular. So for example, if I click sign up, I get redirected here to Keycloak. I can insert, for example, Ash is a user inside of Keycloak, and then show me the users lists. Here we have Ash at Ash Ketchum, whose username is Ash. So let's log in with Ash, sign in, and hopefully I get redirected. Yeah, perfect. To the right page, which is the trainer page. And now I can see, welcome back, trainer Ash Ketchum. Hello, Ash Ketchum. Sign out. And I see actually the Pokemon team of Ash, as well as all his kind of bank Pokemon. All the Pokemon he has actually caught at some point in his career. For some tea. Is everybody, this is still a tea time, right? Gotta take time for the good things. The words more coding with tea. Yeah. So the way I'm doing this is actually fairly complicated. Or at least it was very, very, very complicated to actually set up correctly. It boils down having in program.cs when we add authentication, we on the one hand add cookie authentication, because we're not writing a web app like a standalone, for example, single page application that is written in something like React or Angular or Vue or just plain old vanilla JavaScript. Instead we have like a backend that gets GET requests and responses with pages. Things are different in terms of authorization. We cannot, on these GET requests that we send to the backend, set the authorization header, which makes it impossible to do the stuff that we prepared like last Sunday or somewhere. Sunday maybe? Yeah. The solution to this is actually using a cookie, and to make it secure, the cookie has to actually be set by the backend with HTTP only, so that changes actually the flow. We had to go from a complete user agent client side, like JavaScript client side code, to something that is called a confidential client in OAuth 2. Everything is handled now on the back end, and there happen a couple of redirects here and a couple of redirects there, then a post there, then a post from there, and then here. And finally, the user has a cookie, and in fact a couple of cookies, that is set by the backend. Here, these guys. Not sure, maybe this one belongs to them too, but at the very least C1, C2 and C3. And with these, the backend somehow magically then can match, or maybe it's even contained inside the JWT, which is provided by Keycloak. Well, that was very, very complicated. There would be another solution, which is single sign-on. I haven't looked into that one. What I did was use this OpenID OpenID Connect, which is sitting on top of OAuth 2 to provide a kind of normalized way for authentication. And the good thing is Keycloak supports OpenID Connect, which means we can just provide it with this endpoint that they provide. And go here, then to .wellknown / OpenID - configuration. This is a subscript configuration. Yeah, there is. And the middleware, this add OpenID middleware, which comes from this project, from this library, Microsoft ASP.NET Core Authentication OpenID Connect. At least we're using .NET 6, so it's different in each version, but I think this is there since ASP.NET 3, maybe. Can find more about it right here. So the authentication flow that actually happens, and actually even slightly more, is this fun stuff. So we have the browser, we have Keycloak here in the middle, and we have our web server, which is our ASP.NET application. This is an image from this site that I've just shared with you. So first, the browser navigates to the web page, which in our case, somebody hits the sign in button, and it goes to localhost 7132 / sign in. This triggers a redirect to OAuth. So the browser gets then redirected to OAuth. The user actually logs in, and then OAuth, on the other hand, returns not actually the ID token, but instead a specific authorization code. Because this is called, if it's returning the token directly, that would be the implicit flow, but that is actually not very secure. So we are using the more complex one. In fact, it returns just a code with which is then sent to the backend again. The backend exchanges that for the actual token, as well as doing some confirmation again using a specific parameter, the so-called state parameter and the nonce parameter, to make sure that no request forgery, cross-site request forgery was happening here. So the web server at that point talks actually to Keycloak, and then finally gets the token, takes the token, puts it into a cookie, and then finally responds to the browser. And the browser is then logged in because the cookie is automatically sent on each GET request and all the other fun stuff. Quite a bit of work. It was mostly configuration and getting these values here right. These values, as well as the values on the side of Keycloak. Yeah. There we have a client, ASP.NET I called it. You can see this here in the options.client ID in our application. And this one has to set some specific root URLs, valid redirect URLs, valid logout URLs, because if login works, that doesn't mean logout actually works. Fun stuff. We disabled all of these other flows because the standard flow, the authorization code flow, that's the most secure one. We even use Pixie. Oh, did I not set this? Options.use PKCE. True. This is the default option, in fact. enables or disables the use of the so-called proof key for code exchange. Just say Pixie. The default is true. And it only happens when we actually have this OpenID Connect response type to be code. So the authorization code flow. This determines, this response type determines the code flow in OAuth 2. I don't know anything about OAuth 1. So we disabled all of the other things because they are less secure. And I'm not actually 100% sure whether I need this one, but I did set it at some point. Yeah, not 100% sure. I actually. And with that, the login actually looks as follows. From the model, we receive the authentication scheme. And actually it's just one in our case, but you could have something for login with Google, login with Twitter, login with Facebook. In our case, we only have one login, like a universal login using Keycloak. But just in case, I added it like this. And then you can use these at scheme.name from the schema. And I'm not actually sure how this view back works, but it has a return URL. Where does this model come from? I have just set it here on the index module. It uses HTTP context dot something that we actually extended. You see that it is fairly complicated to set this up, unfortunately. But here it's basically using context.request services, get required service, and then the provider. And with that, we can return this fun stuff. Well, it does some more, get all schemes. Not actually 100% sure where I found this one. I looked through so many examples. Yeah, like 6 or 7 different frameworks and libraries I tried to use. At some point I was just like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I reduced it to the current version. It might be possible to reduce it even more. Yeah, but this basically it returns the Keycloak provider, which we have down in program CS using this at OpenID Connect. And that's it. Yeah, so that's the idea. We have to move some stuff to the config. For example, this client secret should not be in the code. It is only locally available, so that's why I was kind of lazy and just added it and I even committed. But this should not be there. And in fact, I think our first task should be to move all of this fun stuff into a configuration. In particular, we see some more of the configuration stuff. We do have this here already. Let's say var Keycloak, see what he says. And we call this one Keycloak OAuth 2. Then we can go to our something with JSON settings. I just use the development at this point. Maybe this one. Yeah, this is actually from an earlier iteration, but we're not quite using it. Am I correct? Yeah, that's actually correct. Audience, blah, blah, blah. You don't even set the... No way to set the audio. Can we just use this? Fine. Gonna convert from string to int. So it is somehow possible to access properties on the configuration manager and then sub-property. If you know how, please tell me. I did see it at some point. Maybe I still have that somewhere? In the... Nope. 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 How do we use the configuration? So, ASP.NET configuration. Configuration ASP.NET. So, let's get into it. So, application configuration in ASP.NET is performed using one or more configuration providers. They read configuration data from key value pairs using a variety of configurations. How is this one actually? Don't have it more often. Okay. Interesting. I was actually fairly sure that we have at least one more place where we use configuration. Apparently we don't. Default application configurations. Is builder, I think. Yeah, there is. So, oops. Web application.create builder initializes a new instance of the web application builder class. Yeah, that was to be expected. Reconfigure defaults. The initialized builder provides default configuration for the app in the following order, from highest to lowest priority. So first, it takes command line and arguments, because it takes arguments in here, most likely. Then non-prefixed environment variables using a non-prefixed environment variables configuration provider. Very long name. Then user secrets when the app runs in development environment. Interesting. I think we're fine with just putting it into JSON files at this point, at least for the time being. Then app settings.environment, so development, production, and so on, .json, using the JSON configuration program. That's what we want to use. And then it falls back to app settings.json. Okay. Then another fallback. Here we go. That looks way more complicated than what I already saw. Here we go. We use a colon. Did it open the right page? JSON configuration provider. JSON. Why do we typically don't want to custom JSON file overriding value set there? How do we actually use it? How to use that's the same page, right? Key logging. They do have nested JSONs, that's absolutely possible. But where do they actually use it? The double underscore. We access it by colon? Is that how it works? That's right. Colon. Up. Let's say server realm. And we can just console or right. Yeah. Oh. Let's restart, please. Hey, that works. Okay, so we access it with the help of colons. Very nice. So, you, my friend, this one. That was the second, right? Yeah. Although it does not have the trailing backslash. That one. Oh, what's that? Backslash? Never know. Then we have you, the client. I don't think we have the metadata actually set. It's just the default. We have the client ID. Is code type, that's just static. Save tokens. I'm not sure whether we need this. I don't think. We might not need it. Currently I'm disabling HTTPS, but we might want to move this into a configuration via HTTPS. Oh, is this always a string? Yeah. It's boolean.parse, right? Boolean.parse. These always seem to be strings. That's why, yeah, these are always strings. So that's why I'm trying to parse them. Parse tries to convert the specified span representation logical value towards bool. What if it fails? The only span char. I think we take parse. True if value is equivalent to bool.trueString. But what's the value of bool? Wait, boolean.trueString. How do we actually write this? Capital true? Oh, we could do something like this, yeah. Then we don't need to parse it. Oh no, wait. No, that's That's not what we want. This would set... We want to have true by default, and we can override it to false. Otherwise, we are not secure by default, right? So, want false string. But do we have to fiddle this around? So require HTTPS. If require HTTPS is not set, we want to have true. Which means what? Thinking of booleans. Set to anything but one. So if false string want not. At the same, but then just saying it is. I also want to say false here. So if this is false, sorry, if this one is false, then this value here is true, and we say not, which results in false, right? If this is anything else, this inside here becomes true, and it becomes false. I think we use parse, whatever. Boolean to parse. My brain is not working. Warning, only without HTTPS in div. Oops. Got that one running. And then we have all of these claims, which is, all right. Linter is not absolutely happy, it seems. Or the compiler, up here. Thanks. Okay. With that, we've removed everything inside of here. It's good. We do not need the token change. We do not need the metadata stuff. If, let's do it with something like this. If this value is set, is not equal to null, but does it return empty string? If it is not equal to null, set it to, then try to parse it. Else, set it to true. Slightly more complicated, but at least it's secure in production. Now we can also do something like if, like so. If it is development, set it to what he says. Otherwise, we set it to true. App is not defined yet. And okay, for that part. Well, I guess we stick with that one. Name can be simplified. So, is that a thing? Okay. And now it's writing it as a one-liner. Additional expression can be simplified. Yeah, then do it. Okay. Apparently that is equivalent. It is, if it is null, is that what we want? Or parse it. That's not what we want, right? Jesus. That's equivalent? Yeah. Bool dot false string. If it is the false string, parse it, and it sets it to false. Otherwise, we don't do anything. Now we can simplify, it becomes this. Oh, I hate the linter for doing this. Man. Oh, why? Okay, at least it lets me like write it like this. Hello everybody, once again. Today we're working on the Pokemon Team Manager. It's starting to come together. We can by now actually sign in. The name Keycloak does not exist. That's still active. And currently I'm pushing the configuration into configuration files and not just have them in code. Particularly I had the client secret here in code, which is not great. We could, if we wanted to, but these are all just for development anyway. But here in Keycloak we can go to the clients again. We can open ASP.NET, which is the client that I'm currently using. As you can see in here, Keycloak 002, client ID is ASP.NET, ASP.NET, sorry. We can go to the keys, the credentials, and here we can regenerate the client secret if we wanted to do so. So that's an easy thing to do. Be aware that if you're doing this in production, I'm not 100% sure whether Keycloak does have a window where it still accepts the old client secret, and you have some time to actually set the new secret. Not 100% sure on that. But also, all right, let's try whether that actually works. All of these can be gone. We share with this once more. It's from this page here. That's the simplified version even of what we are currently doing to have the most secure application that we can have in terms of OAuth 2 or OIDC. OIDC Connect. OIDC, OpenID Connect. So where's my app? Here it is. An error code. Great. Meta address or authority must use HTTPS unless disabled for development using setting require HTTPS metadata false. Yeah, I thought that's what I'm doing. What do we have here? That's false. This returns false. But apparently I hate that this is. It does not equal false string, does it? What is false string exactly? Run it again. Good. Oh, you can do it. Got it. False. It's a false with a capital F. Okay. Why? Why would they do that? I mean, these are small letters. So we go to app settings, we write F with a capital F. Now if we rebuild, should see, yeah, does not error anymore. Save, and yeah, if you really want to, you can make this very small and unreadable. Dear Linda, please make my code unreadable. Thank you very much. Next Christmas, please also give me a Barbie. So, sign in. We get redirected to Keycloak. And we have the redirect URL up here. So let's look at this ever so slightly. This has somewhere I can take. There we can make a break. Then we make all of these. So each one is now a separate parameter, very string parameter. We have on the one hand redirect URL, which makes so that Keycloak knows where to redirect the client with the response code, the authorization code, which defines the OAuth 2 code, the OAuth 2 authorization flow. We use code because that's the most secure one. We additionally have scopes. What do we actually want to access? We want to access the OpenID of our user. We want to access his profile, the email, and ASP.NET roles and roles. Not sure whether we need both. We give it a code challenge. I'm actually not. This is a hash value that comes from Pixie. We see here the method is S256. This together is the Pixie part that we have enabled here, and it is enabled by default. This makes the authorization even more secure. We define how we want to get a response eventually, like our backend, how that should get a response. Nonce is a value that in a cryptographic communication, you want to have like values that do not duplicate, because nobody can then save them for later and do like request forgery attacks. So that's automatically generated and added also by our backend, as well as all of these, thanks to using OpenID Connect here middleware. Oh, it actually continues up to here. The state, that is a variable that, among others, we cannot actually read it. Only the server knows about it. And I don't know whether it's encrypted or something. But basically it sends, or it gets sent on the one hand through all the redirects to Keycloak, and then it also gets sent back to our server, so that our server actually knows, oh, that was the user that originally, like 1 minute ago, started the communication flow. This is the state parameter, is the way that the server knows who actually originally sent the request and now is responding with the authorization code. Hey Hector, my friend, I have news. Authorization is finally working. The thing is, what we did the other day was the right solution for the wrong problem. What we built the other day was very, very good for if you're building like a web API. We, however, use currently Razor Pages, which makes things difficult. That's a short version. Yeah, the other one is very, very good if you have like a React app in front of it. And the React app then sets this, if you remember maybe the authorization header which we had, which included the token, which you then sent over, and the backend just verified that one. It does not work in our setup with Razor Pages, because there is no way to send this authorization header by just using a GET request. Except cookies, but cookies we cannot set securely from just the client, so we actually have to make a different flow. Yeah, sorry about that one last week. I wasn't aware of that myself, and then when I actually tried to implement the login, I started and it was like, that doesn't fit together at all. There's no way I can send the authorization header. F star. As I said, it's still very, very useful if you're building something like with a React app in front of a REST API, possibly with ASP.NET. Then this other flow works very, very well. It gives you a lot of freedom. Yeah, please don't be mad at me for messing that one up. I still hope that you learned at least something. Most parts that we have with Keycloak still actually apply. All of that fun stuff still absolutely applied, and if you look at this, most of it I have still set up in a very, very similar way, like the root URL, but the redirect URIs, web origins, and all. So that's still there, and also the roles. Yeah, very happy that you're here, and I can finally get that one off my consciousness, kind of. Apologies for that. So now, how are you doing? So sorry, I had to get that one out. How are you doing today? Let's log in as Ash and let's give him a password. Sign in, and now we get redirected, and after a bit of time we are finally signed in, and we see Ash Ketchum. Hello Ash Ketchum, the TV team. Great, just learning. Oh, very nice. Very, yeah, same here. Cool. That works. Still. Let's sign out once more. That seems to work as well. And let's look into Keycloak to see that the session is actually removed here as well. And yes, we see there are no active sessions for this user. If we log in once more with Ash and we go to Keycloak and refresh here, you see there is currently now a session active in the client ASP.NET, ASP.NET. And if I log out once more, come on, I can't hit the button. Sign out, that one is gone. They do not have a refresh button here, unfortunately. That would be great. And even if you just do this, it does not actually refresh the page. You have to actually do a refresh. Refresh. Very nice. So that still works. We can stage what we have now. What I'm now using now is this flow here in an even more complicated version. Let's open this area so quickly. I already explained it like 2 times now, but let's do it once more for you, Hector. We have the browser and, or like the user in a sense. We often say the client, which however in terms of OAuth 2 is not quite correct. This would be the user agent in OAuth 2 terminology. And the client actually becomes, in our new terminology, the client of Keycloak becomes the web server. What I did was create a client who has so OpenID, and most importantly, it has client authentication on, which means it's a so-called confidential client, or in other words, a non-public client. Because inside of there, we can now generate a secret that we can use on the back end and that is actually, we are able to protect the secret from anybody else, because nobody else should know this secret. Else we have a problem and they can access all our data. But this one we can set on the back end to then talk to Keycloak, essentially, in a sense, on behalf of our users, but not quite on behalf. On behalf is still another one. Things get complicated. And we do set this client secret down here. Currently, I'm just using it from the settings, which is not secure. It should be using something like either environment variables, which is still, I think, a nice and easy way to do stuff, or something like Azure Secrets Manager. Is that what it's called? Key Vault? I don't know. I think Secrets Manager is the version from AWS. So this is a vector. I believe X. Config from config file. Keycloak OpenID connect OIDC. OpenID connect. Yeah. Oh. From config. All right. Let's delete the one that I just created. And I do have this set up here for ASP.NET as well. And I'm showing this on screen. Of course, I wouldn't do this if this would actually be like public Keycloak instance, but you cannot access my local host, so I'm safe. At least I hope you cannot access my local host. If you can, please tell me, and I will immediately get off the internet. Okay, we got that one done. Which means we have one to do finish. Abams. Next one. Default roles for new users. That's actually a setting that we want on Keycloak. So what I plan to do is to have a role that is just called regular, and that as soon as you sign up, you automatically receive that role. That's the idea behind it. Why do I want this? Because as time goes by, I want to protect more and more and more particular, I want to make everything, essentially, you have to have authentication for everything, which is what I have here at only authenticated policy, so that it is basically privacy by default. Only authenticated users can then access the application. And I actually also want to probably have something like only people with specific role can access the application, unless an endpoint overrides stuff, like something like the login page or the index page. This one should still be publicly accessible. So if it has to override the default policy, which is you have to be logged in. Doing it this way means if somebody ever forgets to add a header, an attribute like this, authorize this header here. We call it header. It's a decorator, or I think C# calls it attributes. If somebody forgets this, we are still safe, even for new endpoints, because we have it required by default. So that's to give everybody a default role. We go to Keycloak, we go to realm settings, I think. I googled this earlier. We go to the user registration. Yeah, in here we can see the default roles that somebody gets, and we can add a role. We have to filter by clients because otherwise it does not show. Okay. And here we have ASP.NET regular. I want to make everybody a regular by default, and that should be it. So where did I define those roles? On ASP.NET, on the client, ASP.NET, I click on roles and edit the role here. So that means if I click register, page not. What have I broken? What did I break? Page not. Oh, it says /realms. That's not right. Yeah, I had to get creative with the register, unfortunately. This OpenID Connect middleware does not have a way to say something like options.register or sign up URL. So instead, what I did is just hard code the URL right here and give it specific parameters that I need. So currently it has response type code. It requires some specific scopes like the OpenID, the profile, the email, the ASP.NET roles, and the roles. And it has a redirect URI which goes to registration/success, hard coded. And this page is actually public. So if I register, page not found, did not reload, refresh. Why not? Please refresh. Register. There we go. So if I say Twitch user, email twitch@user.com, username Twitch, password, what he says and what he says. I say register. I get an email. In my case, this email gets sent to the client. I'm using something called Mailhog, the Docker container I'm running on localhost 8025, which I have configured for sending emails. But instead of actually sending the emails, so it's my SMTP server, instead of actually sending the emails, it just saves them and says everything has worked. And I can then like go into this admin UI to see the email that was sent. And I click on it, and it has worked. And now inside of eCloak, it should have done the thing. We have switch user, and we don't have exclamation mark, which means the email is verified. And we eventually got redirected to our application again, which is what we wanted. And now all I need to do is click the sign in button, and web apps. We get a page not error, page not found. Why do we get page not found? It actually goes to /trainer, but I have inside of trainer. That's not the right one. html.cs. Inside of here, I do not create a trainer object yet. So currently, if the trainer is null, so what happens here? We click login. Some user, or this user gets redirected after login to trainer, because we have inside of authentication controller, I think, we have this redirect on sign in. We have this challenge redirect URI /trainer. So this redirects, if you have the right cookie, to /trainer, which means we call this on get functionality. So if the user is unauthenticated, we go to the index page, which is not what's happening, because the user is authenticated. It takes it from the cookie, which is automatically sent to the backend, because cookies typically get sent. Then we look at the HTTP context, which is just the global, which we can access, I guess. It has a user, and we can pick what is in terms of JWT, it would be called the subject ID. For whatever reason, probably because it's also available, or you can also use .NET with SAML. I don't know exactly why it uses the name identifier, but this is in our case it is the subject ID, or in other words, this ID that we see right here in eCloak. This ID gets sent to the backend, and that it gets automatically put on the user object, and we can access it using this claim types.name identifier. So this is fine, and we should see this if we just console.write line subject ID. Does that work? Let me refresh just so. /trainer. There it is. So C477 something something, which is exactly this ID. So it does actually work. The problem is I do not create a trainer for this ID yet. I added this new functionality here to the trainer. Each trainer now has a owner ID, but I do not create a trainer for the current logged in user. That's what I need to do right here, right now. So trainer is null, and that's why we see this error call for. What I want to do is now do trainer is equal to subscript trainers dot create. This is fun. Trainer active team ID get at, oh wait, gets an email I actually don't think we need the email anymore, but we can pick the email probably. So, well, or email is null. We have to pick dot value. Then we have the owner ID. That's the important part actually. That is our subject ID claim dot value. What else do we have? Dereferencing of a possible null. No, it's not null because we have null here. Can implicitly convert string to GUID. Oh, okay. GUID dot parse pieces, and it is. Oh, we have it right there already as a value. Next, anything else? I think that's it. Do we need to create trainer control? Maybe I should use this. Although, no, it should. I hope. Done. Name equal to. Again, we can pick our claim right here, which is name. Yeah. Again, this owner ID is actually the most important one. We could just get away with not copying this and using instead the values from the owner ID. We don't have to handle it twice when we actually want to change values. Okay, so if that is done, do not want to error anymore. Just say that's it. And then we take the Pokemons. Oh, this will probably error because we use. So Pokemons actually do list of Pokemon dot Pokemon. Oh. Anything else? Okay, so maybe this works. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. Currently my hot refresh is kind of broken, so by now I'm just hitting Control R all the time. Reload. There we go. Now we have a new team which is empty at this point. Train a Twitch user. But we are now logged in. Woo! Finally. We deserve ourselves some tea. Yes. What I actually wanted to do is to give the user default roles, right? Did I actually set that? So we should have on Twitch role mapping. Regular, there it is. Hey, it worked. Nice. It probably did not apply it to all the other ones. What did it? Oh, it seemingly did. Yeah, it did. Okay, very nice. Very nice. Train for subject ID, not. We probably don't want to log. Although, creating. Bam, so. King Elzok.
King Altsog joined our tea time.
Welcome to our royal tea time. Your Majesty, your cup. I've also made sure that it's not poisoned. Right? What's the name of the person who actually tastes all the food for the king, so it's not poisoned? In German, it's Vorkost. That didn't. How are you doing? We are currently developing Taster as a bodyguard. Okay, well, that was easy. That was surprisingly easy. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining in. What kind of programming language? Right. Fix that one. Fix typo in URL. And we have claims. Let's check whether the email also worked. I will go into AdMiner. Yeah, I'm a Java developer starting to look at Node. Oh, very nice. Typically, we're using Node and TypeScript here on the channel. But recently means like I think today is day 15. I started picking up Sharp and .NET. Cool. Welcome. For bringing some Java expertise in. So we should have our down here. Which user? Active team ID is empty, but we have the owner ID and we have the email. So that worked, both of it. Very nice. Getting the claims using hp context.user.findFirst claim types.name. So the documentation that I was reading to get all of this fun stuff was mostly .NET identity. So working through this is fairly useful, even if you just want to include OpenID Connect. Particular, you see down here other providers, fairly small, however. And was it this one? The claims? I'm not sure. Again, I had so many freaking resources that I went through. Yeah, somewhere down here. But it's still useful to go through identity, even though eventually we did not use it, which you can see in program.cs. It does not say add authentication identity up here. Change the program.cs. So, feature. Actually, it's a fix. Auto create trainer for newly registered user. comments. It is coming together. It is coming together, slowly but surely. Are you working on any private projects? So King in particular? That wasn't. So we have default roles. We also auto-generated trainer for newly registered users. So that's next. Protecting admin routes. And in fact, I want to have something like that only authenticated policy. This is going to be fun. So we already have this auth decorator or attribute in top terms up here. Means that the Pokemon controller can only be called by someone who is actually administrator. Should be able to see this if we go to Swagger, to host 713 L/. Yeah. So if I call the Pokemon controller, for example, get all API/Pokemon there, we should get. And be aware, I have the token from the newly registered Twitch user. So if I try this out, I should get a 404. Oh, interesting. Why is it a 404? /Pokemon. Does it return 404 for privacy? For security? So we can test whether it actually works at all by signing out once more, signing in with, I think, EM1 password. This user here, TypeScript T time plus 1. Is that the right one? Yeah. I think it is. T time. Not sure why it does not. Because this is the username. Here, we have to look at there. We take that one. Let's see role mapping. Oh, he's administrator in test, but he's not administrator in ASP.NET. Okay, so we have logged in. We should not see anything with this one either. We do. Interesting. So it seems this role is applied to our application, which is not right, because it's in the wrong client. It could be a completely different application, right? Say you have multiple applications, like microservice style, for example. You are administrator in one part, but you might not be an administrator in another part. Like you might not be an administrator on the blog application, but you might be an administrator on the, I don't know. What other applications are there? Documentation app. So the client is actually fairly important. Let us. We can try to analyze this using. Just go to using our basically this. If I just set a breakpoint right there, and I start my application using the breakpoint, there's some way to store the access token not in cookies. Yeah, that's one thing that I was asking myself too. The problem is that we have a backend application that you as a client, you do a GET request and then you get the response. It's not like a React app or anything. Everything is on the backend instead. You cannot, by way of, you cannot send with the regular GET request using this location in the browser. You cannot send an authorization header manually. So I think the only way is to actually have it using cookies. And then make the cookie as secure as possible. I do hope it is as secure as possible. It has an expiration. Terrible to read. It should be HTTP only. It should have a proper same site, which I currently do not have. Wait. So same site should be... I think it should be legs, because we take it from the redirect and then we should still send the cookie. But it should be HTTP only. There is. I think that says HTTP only. Yeah. So that that other JavaScript cannot access it and take the cookie and send it to an attacker and hack everything. So I don't think there is an option in our case having this backend heavy Razor app application to use anything else but a cookie. The alternative would be the authorization header, but we cannot send it with a GET request. If we had something like like an Angular app or React app or Svelte app or just an app that is completely written in JavaScript and you have like a REST API or a GraphQL API, you can you use Ajax or XML, HTTP XML requests, that's the old name. And in that case, you could just set the header because you requested, but you're still on the same page, and then you can work with the data that you get. But you cannot just set the location and then additionally set the header. So what happens if you write something in here is that it basically, I think it calls this .href and then, for example, https://google.com. And then it navigates. Okay, in React, I know that a library Axios can create a private session and then the access token set in private, non-readable token. Oh, didn't even know that. Struggling to protect my API. Yeah. The problem is that that we have everything on the back end. We're not using HTTP XML. Is that the right name? Yeah, XML HTTP request. Which is what Axios is using under the hood, or the fetch API. Thanks for the question. It is one thing that I've actually ran into myself. We designed everything so that we basically use this access token, authorization header, and then send the access token to the backend. But then when I actually started with including the sign-in on the front end, I was like, oh, that doesn't work. Yeah. There's actually even a recording of that. But that would very well work with the REST API, for example, but not with something like Razor Pages or ASP.NET MV, Model View Control, MVC. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do is I started it in the debug mode. Currently, oh, this gets actually called. Interesting. I'm already logged in, apparently. That's why. So we have... I want to look on this object. I should have put it into a proper... Do I have HTTP context? User. In here we have claims. What was I actually looking for? What is our current task? Add only authenticated policy. I wanted to look at the roles. So this HTTP context user claims. So a claim is one property of the JWT if you want so. We have sessions say we have somewhere it should say roles. There it is. Role administrator. Very interesting. There might be something that we have to set inside of our client here in keycloak. Client scopes. Roles, we have test client scopes, we have ASP.NET roles. I think this is the wrong one. Can I change it? This here, I think not what we want. Test client roles. Go away, please. We do, however, want to change ASP.NET roles to map to the name roles. Let's set in. So client scopes once more. Show me all of them. Wasn't there one more just like a minute ago? Audience client roles. This is a default. I don't think we need that. I'm missing something here. Something is missing. Refresh once. Something is. Here we go. For whatever reason, it switched to the wrong realm. We have to go to TPM. That's why. In here, we should now see role list, roles, ASP.NET roles. And we should see test client roles. I want to see test client roles and I want to see ASP.NET roles and the difference between them. Because here we use for the test roles, we use the token claim name roles. But for the ASP.NET roles, we use client ID underscore roles, which is ASP.NET roles. It seems that ASP.NET is able to immediately parse this one. And that's why we see this role administrator here, which comes from the test client role, because it just has this property roles. I gotta go back to work. Thank you for joining in. I do stream often. My regular time is Wednesday at 18 to 20 or 21 or sometimes more or less in Central European summertime. Sorry. Currently, I'm just streaming from time to time there and from time to time there as well. So the additional streams are like when I feel like it. If you follow me on Twitter, it will be shown there as well. I think I missed myself. but it still worked. Yeah. So, and typically I also say, or I try to say also what we're actually doing. The automatic message is not as precise, unfortunately. Thanks for coming in, King. Your Majesty. Have fun walking. Right, choose to join the stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. So what I want to do is make the ASP.NET roles, also call this one roles, save it, and inside of the client, when we add the client scope, I do not want to include test roles. I do want to include, however, the ASP.NET roles, so that the JWT will now contain the ASP.NET roles. Then things are good. I wanna run. That reminds me that my music stopped. Why did it open this? All right. Let's restart. Did I save? I didn't. Save. I think that should do the trick. Test. ASP.NET dedicated. Okay. All right. Let's sign in once more. Step over. This the context. There we go, role regular. It does not, however, have a role. Who am I currently? I'm currently trainer tea time. Tea time +1. We only have regular as a role. Let's assign another role, ASP.NET. The administrator role additionally. And hopefully, so we have to clear the cookie now to make this change actually work. That's why I want to sign in once more. And now we hopefully have a list on the claims. User claims, result view. We see role administrator and we see role regular. It works! Nice. Very nice. So, yet another important setting on Keycloak. I still want to terraform Keycloak so that all of this clicking around is very nice to do at once and understand what's actually going on. But I forget everything what I did within 2 weeks. So within the next 2 weeks, I should use something like Terraform to automate all the settings that are actually necessary to make this work. And then we can just run the so Terraform, if we don't know what it is, you write your code in a special language, and then you apply the changes, and it automatically provisions your infrastructure and configures it in a way that you describe using the code. compared to just clicking around and clicking a button there, and when you remove the Docker container, everything is gone. Which is not what I want. Right? If we would need to configure this for production, we would, at this point, I will have to do everything again. If we have everything in configuration files, then it becomes much simpler. There are ways, like inside of Keycloak as well, as far as I know. If I go to the client roads, for example, here, ASP.NET roads, I can actually export it, or so I thought. Apparently I cannot. Like some part you can export, like so. And then you see all the settings. So that's very nice, at least. I should definitely do this. Yeah. Not great that the secret is in here, but can't do much about it. All right. So that's one thing that is still up for on the to-do list. What we have achieved is that if I call this endpoint, I should still see stuff. Cause failure. Because my server is not running, that's why. It's not a cause failure. Failed to fetch. It might be a network failure. It just says cause at the very beginning, which is kind of confusing. The first thing should be network error, I find. .NET Watch. There we go. And now we execute. Execute. And it works. The reason being, I am currently logged in as someone who has administrator access. I hope, at least. If I log out and I sign in using Ash, for example, who I think, if I go to Keycloak, Ash, there he is, role mappings, is only a regular in the ASP.NET app. Up. Password, this. And I go to Swagger. Now my cookies are different. Maybe I should reload. Now my cookies are the cookies of Ash. And if I go to get, I should get a 403 forbidden. 404, which is fine as well. I suppose our friend .NET actually protects the endpoint so much that it, to a client that is not authorized, they not even say you're not authorized. They make it so secure, in a sense, that they even say there is nothing. That's why we get the 404, I think, for unauthorized people. But if we go to in here and we say regular instead, and we refresh or rebuild, we should we should now see something. Yay! It works! And it actually works the way that we expect it to. Isn't that great? Isn't that amazing? Actually, we don't need this. What I do want, however, is to put the configuration file from of our client. Is there a file for the realm? Realm info. No. That's unfortunate. Because there are a couple of realm settings as well. We can also export those. Very nice. Very nice. So client, ASP.NET, export. Joshua Goldberg is rating. Hey, good to see you. How was your stream? How is ESLint going? You might still be in an ad. Welcome everybody. Here's some tea for you guys. Yeah, sorry. Tea for you friends. I try to be more inclusive. I hope you're doing well. We're currently doing not TypeScript. Ah. And instead we're writing an ASP.NET application. Do I want to click this? I want to click this. So let's put something like config files, config inside of here. Joshua, how was your stream? Did you have a good time? So this is eCloak OAuth 2 client ASP.NET dot config export. Dylan, so everybody check out Joshua. He's working on the ESLint team, and he was originally, I think, one of the main people, maybe the main person between TSLint. So check him out. Just have to add the name. Shout out. Does it work like that? Yeah, that worked. Very nice. Great TypeScript developer. In particular, he also only recently published the book Learning TypeScript, right? Which is Learning TypeScript, if I'm not mistaken, without JavaScript book. Oh, really? Yeah, there it is. So let's save all of this. Let me just finish this line. Save. There we go. So thank you, Aurelie. How was your stream? Or did you immediately have to run? If not, welcome Raiders. This is a TypeScript tea time. Normally we're doing TypeScript. Currently I'm started to learn ASP.NET C#, because it's very, very close to TypeScript. In fact, Anders Salzberg, one of the main people behind TypeScript, is working on, I think he's the lead architect of C#. So a lot of stuff is similar. Daniel Cruz, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? What we are working on is, as I said, I hope did the ad just end? Or were you stuck in ads? I'm not 100% sure. Otherwise, if so, I will repeat everything I just said. Once again, shout out to Joshua. We are currently working on an ASP.NET app together with eCloak for authentication and authorization. And we built a Pokemon team manager. Welcome back, Trainer Ash Ketchum. This is the main team that you might know from Ash, the main hero of the Pokemon anime. And if we sign out, no, I broke it. Apparently I broke it. Damn it. I broke stuff. Not the first time. It might be that the Koki token still it may expire, and then I'm not sure what actually happens. The Pokemon Team Manager is an app for me to learn .NET, first and foremost, ASP.NET, and also to manage Pokemon teams, so you can have like a team that is very good against fire trainers. It's one team that is very good against trainers that focus more on water Pokemons, and one team that is more balanced, and so on. As I said, mostly I'm learning C#, but this was just a nice way to do it. Lily Cruz, what are you learning? Are you a developer yourself, or working in IT? Otherwise, what kind of projects are you working on, even non-coding related? something that inspires you, that you get excited about. You use React TypeScript. Ah, very nice. We did that yesterday, React Native in our case. Because I developed an app that is also available on the Play Store. For building long-term habits. Yesterday we added search to this. So that you have inside of here, inside of the history. So for each day you have an entry, you answer specific questions. And then you see just the summary in here, in the history. We now have a search up here as well. It is not yet released, however, the search part. It is finished, but I haven't published it to the Google Play Store yet. I have no idea about C#. I have no idea about C#. Today is my 15th day of working with C#. I did just a tiny bit of C# with Unity like 4, 5, 6 years ago. But only for tutorials, and those tutorials are very, very simple. You don't really use C#, I would say. And as I said, C# is fairly similar to TypeScript. I do miss a couple of things, however. I do miss a couple of things, to be honest. Alright. So, what did we achieve just now? We achieved that login is working. Sorry, no. Login is not. Login is working. Login has been working. What we achieved is that the roles get populated correctly from the right client in particular. So Keycloak is an authentication solution, authentication and authorization, and it supports OAuth. In particular, the OpenID Connect standard, which is sitting on top of OAuth 2. And we integrate that with our ASP.NET framework or application to essentially handle the login stuff. So when I click the sign in and I'm actually signed out, there we go. Then I get redirected here to Keycloak for handling authentication. And here I can put in my user credentials and then sign in, and then I get redirected to the actual application. This user does not have any teams. That's why we see nothing here. The good thing about Keycloak, so it's basically if you've worked with something like Azure Active Directory or just Active Directory, or AWS Cognito or OAuth, Auth0. It's one of those kinds, except that you host it yourself. You can just run from a Docker container, which is what we are currently doing. One thing that I wanted to do before I lose everything, I want to export pretty much everything. How does the export actually look? We have a display name, we have an ID, we have a realm. So currently I'm not using infrastructure as code to configure Keycloak. I was just clicking around, putting something there and putting something there. And this export makes it possible for me to at least have some degree of infrastructure as code, even if it's very quick. I do think we have, however, password hashes inside of here. For actual users. Do we? Maybe. I did the export for the first time. Oh no. I hope it's not my connection. I mean, it's also terrible that it's your connection, if it's your connection. My bitrate says it's constant. 2500 kilobits. So, fairly constant. Stay here, please. We need you. Have some tea, take a sip. What else do we have here? First broker login. Do we have something like EM1 inside of here? Yeah, there he is. Oh no, that's just the SMTP server configuration, which is not our users. So the users are not there. I think we can actually export users as well if we try to do so. We have it in our database. We can just access the database, right? Realms, user, and there it is. And then we see everything, including the credentials, which are somewhere under credentials. But of course, it has some. It is secret, so we don't really see anything. What we're making here, Swirly, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the TypeScript Tea Time. I'm learning .NET Core, ASP.NET Core. What we are working on is a Pokemon team manager that we are developing. So a web page where you can manage your Pokemon teams. You want a team, so let's say you have your Pokemons on your Game Boy Color, I think. It also works for the newer editions. And you want to handle or remember the teams that you have. One team that is very good against water trainers. One team that is more balanced. One team that is very good against trainers that mostly use stone Pokemon, for example. And then you can sign in. We set up the sign-in here with Keycloak, and then you can see your team, and you can customize it. For example, you don't want Butterfree, you instead want, let's say, a Cherubi, which is level 99. Save, and there we go. Now you have Cherubi in your team. What I want to do, as time goes by, is that you have multiple of these teams. We already have the data model to do that, but we don't render multiple teams at this point. You can also not create a team at this point, so I was pretty much stuck on the authentication for the last 5, 7, 6 days, I think. So that was quite some work, but we got it running now, finally. That's what we're working on. Have you played Pokemon at any point, or any kind of Japanese roleplay games out there? 7, 1, 2. Still logged in, perfect. We should probably see something like trainer up here. Somebody is logged in, right? You like it. Glad you like it. I wanted to save and then put. Hey, Swirly. Welcome. Thank you for jumping.
Swirly 304 joined our tea time.
I have to put this in here. This is the OWASP 2. Actually, it's the Keycloak Realm partial export. It is called the Realm. Did that work? No. This includes some. This might include some secrets. At least this one does. But we don't care. Everything is locally on my machine, so I don't mind this being in GitHub at this point. If you're doing this professionally, don't do this. We actually might want to say something. Super secret. So this way we have at least some degree of infrastructure as code. Have you guys worked with? Have you friends? Not you guys. Have you guys? Habits die hard. Habits die hard. Have you people used infrastructure providers like Terraform or AWS CloudFormation, or there's also one for Azure as far as I remember. This is, I don't know, Vector, sure. Secure infrastructure keycloak config. At least partially. I do want to terraform the keycloak configuration because there is a Terraform provider for keycloak. Somebody created all of that fun stuff, but I haven't gotten around to it just yet. And in particular, I'm not very good at Terraform, so I don't have much practice on that one. All right. So what are we going to do next? We want to add up there, add an only authenticated policy, except for the landing page and the registration and the sign up. Those should be public as well. So to do that, there's this one page that essentially tells us how to do it. So require authenticated users. This code should force everybody to actually have to sign in. If we go to program.cs, authorization. Okay, we don't have authorization. Let's add it below adding authentication. Probably have to import this friend here. Yeah, there we go. And then we require an authenticated users. That means if I log out now, I should not be able to see this page. It doesn't work. I have to restart. Why do I see trainer ID there? So, the right line. Okay. Swagger seems to be public. This page does not work. And the redirect, however, also because it's trying to redirect to identity account login. That's not right. Which is this path here. No, this one. So first thing that we want to do is, let's make it to do here. Change. I think the login path is now /sign in. Is that right? SP authentication controller. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, or if you have just an anecdote or anything from your life, feel free. Very much open to that. In fact, I appreciate it. Discussions in chat as well. We have /signin right there. I do want to rename this into /api.signin at some point, but currently I don't. Alright, so we do this. We already have the login part set right. So that should help with the first one. This is the very long localhost. For whatever reason, changes to program.cs are not replicated. Oh, we have to do this once more. Come on, can do it. Now, sign in is not reachable because the authentication handler here, we need to have an exception with, how do we do this? Allow anonymous. I mean, we just added that everything needs to be authenticated. Now we have to make the public APIs actually unauthenticated. Public. So that should help on this localhost. It's not what. Let's restart once more. I think in this case I could have Control Alt. Localhost 7. Not working. What we want? Here we go. So the preceding highlighted code sets the fallback authorization policy. The fallback authorization policy requires all users to be authenticated except for Razor pages, controllers, or action methods with an authorization attribute. So we can override it. Everything else, I think this is, it's not great, written great or too unique. I think this means everything that has an authorization attribute requires possibly no authorization. For example, Razor pages, controllers, or action methods with allow anonymous or authorized policy name equals something something use the applied authorization attribute rather than the fallback authorization policy. All right. Okay. Require authorization, user adds deny anonymous authorization requirement to the current instance. What are you working with, by the way, Swirly? Which enforces that the current user is authentic. Sounds good. Fallback is applied to all requests that don't explicitly specify an authorization policy. That's what I expect. For requests served by endpoint routing, this includes any endpoint that doesn't specify an authorization attribute. For requests served by another middleware after the authorization middleware, such as static files, this applies the policy to all requests. Interesting. We use static files before we use authorization. So I think static files will be public with this setup, if I get it correctly. Why, however, does this allow anonymous not work the way that we expected it? Is it because we're still logged in? Let's clear our cookies ever so quickly. Yeah. That actually worked. It still triggered the right one. Inside of here, was it Ash who we were using? Yeah. So apparently Swagger is not authenticated. It is not authorized. So if we go to /test keycloak, this one is also not, which is a static file inside of there. We can just go to maybe /images/pokeball.png. Yeah. So these ones, the static files, which live in our www root, root, I think because this is defined before use authorization, we can access it. If we move it down, down, down to the bottom of the sea, and we try to reload this once more, I think we get an error. Yeah, we now got redirected to sign in. Very nice. This looks very, very wrong. Let's move it back, because they are actually. Why is allow anonymous not theming? Let's for change start with making index public. How do I make index public? Create a page. Authorize attribute. Where do we actually have to add that one? Prior authorization to access a page. We actually want to inverse. Allow anonymous to page. Is that how we have to do it? Is there no other way? Oh, that's annoying. Ugh, I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Because it removes the responsibility from the individual component. In a sense, it's good to have the authorization logic in one place, but in another sense, wouldn't it be better to just have it on the route itself? Maybe there is another way. So let's start with this one. Program.cs. Where do we add the Razor pages? There we do. Add Razor pages. Oh. So it's up. Add Razor. There it is. We want index to be public. Authorize folder. Oh, wait. We want to allow anonymous to page. Index. I think that's pretty much it. Registration successful. Another one. Or registration success. This is after you've logged in. After you signed up. Sorry, after you registered. You get redirected to this page, and it basically just has a big fat login button that you can then click. It's a workaround because the OAuth library here, the OpenID connected library that we use, does not support directing to the registration page. Okay. That should help, but what? 7, 1, 2. Probably I have to restart once more. Come on. Yep. Localhost didn't send any data. Why not? Do it. Do it. Come on. I can do it. This sample app uses cookie authentication without ASP.NET Core entity, which is exactly what we're doing. Which is exactly the setup that we have. Hmm. Allow anonymous to. That sounds about right. Slash index. That's not it. It is running. But we don't get any response data right now. When we call index, what do we get as a response? Failed. Empty response. You know why things stop working? How to fix it, please reach out. That's what we just had, right? That's yeah, this is what I would wish for, to be honest. Oh, you can add it to the page model. This is actually what I want to do. I want to do it. Let's remove that one. We sometimes do not have the model, however. Next model. Next. Allow anonymous. So. And registration success does not have a CSH. Yes. It is exactly the same as one. So remove old code. Allow anonymous. Okay. Registration success. Don't need the logger, in fact. We don't even need the default. Do need the authentication scheme. Important. Does this make a difference in C#? Ah no, it's complaining now on the I can accept. Okay. Because we're using the model. The wrong one. Oh, hey, it worked. So that worked. Very nice. If we sign in, that works as well. Fine, fine. Very fine, very fine. And if we sign in, we are authenticated. So we actually see this page. If I sign out, I go to this page once more. Does not work. The redirect to this redirect up here doesn't work at all. Dot okay. Right. That works. Sign in one. That works. That still works. Back. This page is not found because I do not have a team. That's kind of expected because we haven't implemented that part. So if we sign out, now the register, however, does not work, I think. Because I'm lazy, inside of this login partial, sign in partial, I'm referencing the index model, which is not valid. I somehow have to pass information down to a partial. How do I do that in Razor? Raise that page, pass data to partial. Or you can write that this preferred versus I don't know. So we include this sign and partial inside of this header bar, which in particular has the sign in here, which takes as data the different login providers that we have. Most importantly, actually it's just one, which is Keycloak, which we have as our universal login. I'm not even sure whether I should call it universal login. What exactly is universal login? It sounds as if it's single sign-on. Or is universal login actually an auth0 term? Yeah, apparently it seems to be a term from auth0. Okay, I didn't know. All right. Where are we? We somehow have to move the data now. Let me stage all of this once, because it seems to be working. In particular, if I have rise you. Can we actually, what we want is not only .required user, .require role regular. I think that's what we need by default. Is that how I called it? Kind of forgot already. Regular. Okay, perfect. So if I sign in as Edge, let's say, word, then everything seems to be working. I go to swag, and I say, give me the Pokemons. It works. If I now go to Pokemon Controller and I say, well, you, my friend, should instead have role administrator, and I think Ash is not an administrator. Should maybe use a default group. That's probably the better way, right? Instead of having a default role, we take a group administrator and in fact I want to delete them once more, and we call them .NET client regular. Client.NET regular. And client.NET administrators. And in the realm settings, thank you for the very useful information. We go to user registrations once more, and we add default groups, which should be regular users. And on the group, we instead set the role. Remove this one. This action will remove regular from default roles two times. All the associated roles of regular will also be removed. Okay, do it. So this friend of ours should not be a regular anymore. However, if we add a role, .NET, oh, was it ASP.NET? Oh, damn it. Called the group wrong. Do that again. Client ASP.NET regular users. And similarly, administrator. Not all the space. And then we go to our realm settings, user registration, default roles. We remove this one and we add a group. And we take this time the correct one, which is regular users. Alright. Remove the ones that we mistakenly added. And on the regular users group, we want to actually assign a role, which is ASP.NET regular assign. And for the administrators, we want to have ASP.NET administrators. Done. And now users can just join groups instead, which should make things simpler. Can I add members, follow them. So let's remove also this administrator rule. Oh, this one can actually not be removed. So we see that ASP.NET regular role is, I cannot click here on the remove button because it's assigned via the group, I think. So if we leave this group, we should maybe after refresh. Yeah, we also remove the role on that one. I don't actually need the test client anymore. Okay, let's join these two groups. Bams. Now we should have a refresh. There we go. regular and administrator as roles on this user, but not, for example, on the blah user. He only has, or she only has regular. Very nice. Groups makes it much simpler. They work pretty much like the roles, the groups in Linux. You as a user can be in many groups, and they act just as a simple abstraction to manage many users at the same time, instead of managing each user individually. Right. So we've got that one. I definitely hope that our stuff is still there. Regular. Well, Swagger still working. Index still working. If I sign in, Ash is still working. Very nice. And if I go here, I should now on the Pokemon's endpoint, I should not be able to get it. Yeah, it says 404. .NET, apparently it completely hides everything if you do not have access. So it hides the complete endpoint API / Pokemons from you, in a sense, hiding, because it returns 404 not found instead of the theoretically more correct forbidden. Because you are authenticated, which means you should get a 401. The route exists, but so it's not a 404, but you are not authenticated, authorized. You're not allowed to access it because you do not have the right role. That being the case, for security, it's oftentimes better to actually completely hide the fact that you do not even have access to this resource. Otherwise, you would at least know that there is something, and then you might start getting bad ideas. Like finding actually out what is behind there. So if I sign out from Ash and instead I sign in with let's sign in once more with Ash, but instead we add Ash to the group. From the groups, I take the administrators group. I add a member and I add Ash. Bams. Ash being so awesome, he's now an administrator. I log in. Now I'm logged in again, and this time I can call the endpoint. Perfect. It just works. It just works. It just works. It just works. It money falls under it. Money flows. It just works. I don't know the text exactly. All right. So feature. Security by default. Where's my Pokemon controller? Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. I was worried for a second that that I might not have the right roles. But everything is fine, everything is fine. One thing that I think I want, where should I put this? Like a roles array. Ah. It should work. Okay. that has worked as well. Very nice, very nice. Very happy with what we got going now. Security by default. Require authentication plus regular role on all routes unless except override. Index and register root URL and slash registration success are public. I missed one small part there. Git commit minus amend root URL slash registration success and auth n routes. Save. All right, we're on a roll. Look at it. Protect the admin routes. We don't really have admin routes. We kind of have admin routes, but we don't really have it. So at some point I created a lot of like trainer edit and all of that fun stuff. And we might want to secure those as well. Currently, I can go to slash admin slash trainers. That's it. Cannot. Thought I could. Because the web server is not running anymore. That's why. Of course, that's why. Not the web server to do anything. So our HCatchM can still see the list of all users. Probably don't want that. Instead, we want to protect actually everything that is behind admin. We did see that this is possible. We did see that this is possible by doing something on Rater pages. Major pages authorization. Authorize folder. Allow anonymous to. Let's check whether that wait. Now what do we want? We actually want to have roles on each of these. And in fact, even roles. Yeah, we can add an authorization policy. Problem is, I don't know how the policy is actually called. Roles equals administrator. Road policy. ASP.NET core. Yeah, that's not right. Question is, how do we need via role? Policy. Here we go. Require registering a policy. Add policy require managers only policy maps to policy.require role. And then we have access to this policy. You can also specify multiple allowed roles in registering the policy as shown in the snippet. Oh yeah, okay. Right. Cool. Let me make a 2-minute break. I'll be right back to you. For you. Okay, back we are. Fix our setup here. Flying back in. This stream is on fire. Oh wow. Is that alright? Something is broken there. Interesting. This one is working. The pipe. Interesting. What to do? Fire command. we immediately triggered it. I can imagine that the reason why it's broken is because we switched to a beta version of Phaser to make our cats work. And they got some regression in there. Or they actually fixed something and we used the regression to make it work. That's also an option, I don't know. Where were we? I think we wanted to register a policy so that we can use the policy to allow the Razor page using the policy. Oh, this is actually not working. Oh, very interesting. So probably it's better to not chain them. I need some new music here. So on Razor pages. authorize folder /admin, comma. So what I would wish for is something like roles equals administrator, but that will not work. I'm very sure. It's tried, but I'm fairly sure that it. Oh. Apparently I'm side out. And this redirect is completely broken. My cookie duration. There's something still with the cookie and getting refresh tokens. I want to do cookie duration handle expiring cookie and okay, so let's sign in again. This now works. So what did we want to do? We wanted to go to /admin /ins error could word processing. Oh, there's an invalid operation. The authorization policy named roles equals administrator was not found. Well, yeah, that was kind of expected. What we can do, however, is in the line where we add authorization, I want to add a block down there, and then we add another policy that says via admin only administrators. Admin right. Can I do this as a one-liner? Yeah. Or where? Now, where is our? Yep. Is a policy that we register above. Let's reload. Music. I think we're good. Okay, restart. And see. Maybe because Ash is currently an administrator. So let's sign out. Let's remove Ash from the administrators group by Ash. You did your job well as an administrator. Now, if we go to /admin /trainers, not found. We did it! XT9 does not exist. What we can do, I think, is where's my up here options dot access denied path is slash error 4 slash error 44. Note. Slash admin slash trainers. The touch. Very nice. Very nice. I like it. That works. This login path is, however, not working. We are locked out. We just go anywhere. Oops. Huh. That's not it. Yeah. This is just totally broken. Point. Try clearing your cookies. Do we have any kind of cookie at this point? No. And this is also not it. Alright. So that one's working too. Very nice. Fix, I suppose. Pages in slash admin via administrator role. Sweet. Let's do one thing. If I log in, I can, it's actually very, very hard. Yeah, I do. Yoshi boy, good to see you again. I remember you being there the other day, yesterday. Yeah. I recently started doing C#. I'm not very, very familiar with it, but good to see you again. How are you doing? Have you been working on C# more? I'm typically using TypeScript. As you can see, here's all the learnings I made in C# within the last 15 days. So you say you're used, which means currently you use something different. What did I want to do? Actually, we have finished our to-do. Protect admin routes. Way. The thing that I want to do now is have show slash trainer route if logged in. So trainers route if logged in. So in our layout, want to add another this here. Currently listening to the music that replaces copyrighted Roblox. The Roblox staff is a huh. Very nice. Roblox. Haven't actually played it myself, but I know it's extremely popular. And it's basically just a sandbox, right? You can do pretty much all the stuff that you want. Almost as if it's like a game engine, but more. Is that right? I'll let you guess what the music consists of. I don't know. Currently, I'm listening to metal. It is. Earlier, I was listening to city pop. Oh. Oh, now I listen to Black Mages, Final Fantasy. I don't know. I can only guess. Maybe some game music. Maybe some electric dance music. Maybe some hip hop. Some rap. Maybe some rock music. I don't know. Anime. Anime music. Anime openings. The replacement music consists of smooth jazz. Oh. Jazz, the good old. I play a little bit of jazz on the guitar, but it's really not worth mentioning actually, the more I think about it. Yep. I want a route here. Trainer. The login partial. Nav, collapse, justify content, and toggle. Okay. Definitely good for my development. Ah, nice. Yeah. I often listen to the regular cafe jazz that you get pretty much everywhere. Let's add an unordered list here. And then we just say not justify content and, but instead space between. It should still push the hello, this part to the right and the stuff that we now add to the left. Hey. Class equals navbar link. Is that a thing in Bootstrap? Bootstrap. Let me maybe. I think we can take this. ASP page / trainer. Do you work? What are you developing currently? Oh no, the cookie is gone again. Frickin' cookie. Gotta fix that. I wonder why it's doing this. Because it's looping. It's going to sign in. Because it's not signed in. Wait. Oh. I know why. I get it. Yeah, it totally busted it. So the cookie expired. What happened here is the cookie expired. Our middleware in program.cs redirects me to the login path. But the login path is actually protected. So it's redirecting me again to the login path. And that's why we get this loop where it's redirecting to sign in, and then it says the return URL, by the way, is the sign in together with all the other parameters. Yeah. I want some cookies now. I think I still have one like Twix, the cheap version of Twix. What I actually want. Oh, that's actually not. I think I just want to redirect to index. Done. Or maybe a page that says automatic logout. Maybe something like that. Oops, not there. I think we can just take what he says. Automatically logged out. Where did it go? Logged out.cshtml.cs. And here you have been automatically logged out. The reason why this is happening is, I think, because we have an expiration time, and instead of actually refetching the token, we just expire it. Yeah, there's something going on. I think there's also a setting on the realm inside of Keycloak that we have to set. Tokens, refresh token, access token, lifespan. I don't even know whether we have the refresh tokens. Anywhere. Like, anywhere. We would need to save those, right? Or at least have them in memory. But whenever I restart the server, memory will be gone. And then we get an error. So there's more to do. For a quick fix, you have been automatically logged out. Please log in again. Save. Automatically logged out.cshtml. It is anonymous because you get there after you've been logged out. This here might not work. Oh. Yeah. Well. By default, or by convention, these should be called model. And oh, don't do that. This might not work. I'm fairly sure that it actually does not work. In fact, cookies are still broken, but we have it on our list. I think cookies are still. Yes, refresh. Set the server, please. Right, we're back logged in. So, what did we actually do? Ah, right. Here, this. It is there. It looks meh, kind of. But at the very least, we can now navigate to the trainer again, which is maybe the most important page at this point. Just for me right now. So now I don't know. What do we do with the this freaking token? Let me like log out automatic. This page is not working. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Because a subproperty, this partial here. Oh, the language server crashed. Goodbye, language server. Now I have to restart VS Code. This partial here has a direct dependency, which is not great, on the index model, but it does not have access to the index model in this context here. So what I want to do is actually have something like a model equals, I don't know, automatically log. Oh, we allow that one. You have to install WSL to even run Docker on Windows. I cannot tell you anything about WSL, unfortunately. I'm on Linux. The minus is that the C#, or at least the ASP.NET community, is very much designed to run on Windows. There's one... It feels, even after 15 days, it feels like that. There's this Tracer? No, what was it called? Assembly .NET debugger, and it's only available on Windows. There's this one tool. This might actually still work, all of this on Windows, what we've just seen. Although this is not... I don't know. There was another one. Reference assembly is resolved. So yeah, I feel you. I originally started developing on Windows, and at that point WSL wasn't that great, so I had to just use was it still XP? No, it was already Windows 7. Did we have Windows 7 on? Yeah, this. And maybe stand up for a second. WSL was not there at that point, at the very least. Thank you. That helps a lot. One yoga stretch that I'm always doing, which is for the side part. Cross your legs, like so. And then you grab your wrist. Ooh, feel the big stretch right here. Am I still hearable? Yeah. Directed microphone for the win. Oh, this is so good. And then for the other direction, obviously, step the other one back. Grab your left wrist. Ooh. One can also like twist your body ever so slightly in one direction or the other. Have more stretching here on the front side. Because in particular, when you're sitting all day long, this part and the lower abs are always under stress. So stretching them feels really, really good. I'm doing some yoga recently. A lot of fun. Particular when you wake up and your body is all like, I'm a zombie, brains. Then just doing 10 minutes of yoga is just immensely good. We forgot one thing. No, it's broken. That's why. the model item pass into the view data dictionary. Maybe we can find something like that. So, where did I stop? Thank you for the stretch. That was really useful. I wanted to have something like this and pass down the model to the silent partial. Rather partial pass model. How do I pass model data to a partial view? Exactly the question that I have. Can say add partial and then the model. Well, that's surprisingly simple. Oh, my hunger. This. Give me something. Model. Is that it? Let's crash the application. Probably need to move all of this. Oh, somebody's hungry. No. Turn error. Okay, so that... wait. We're still referencing it, right? We haven't changed anything. The question is, how does the partial actually know about the model? Did I just remove it? Ah, there it is. Yeah. Can I just add model? No. Expects the type. Oh, you can actually write this. Will you look at that? Intuition for the win. Intuition for the win. Except that I should not write this, but instead that. With yeah. One. Just one. No. How does the view actually? Did they use it like that? Away past MP, and if anyone looking for ASP.NET Core, you can use this. How do I? When just not use it? It still works? Is that how it works? In this case, this cannot be typed, right? Just dynamic. Point. There we go. You can use lambda expression as an argument to dynamically dispatched operation without first casting it to delegate or expression tree type. Mesa partial. Partial views in ASP.NET. Maybe you should look at the documentation. You'll be here playing Apex. Yeah, enjoy. So the partial view is a razor markup file without an add page directive. I don't think we have. Yeah, we just use some stuff. Within another markup files render. Some partial view is used when developing either an MVC app, the markup files are called views, or Razor Pages app, where markup files are called pages. The topic generally refers to MVC views and Razor Pages as markup files. Okay, when to use. Effective way to break up larger markup files into smaller portions. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Don't use a partial view or complex rendering logic. Instead, use a view component. So, how do we get access to a model or some data? Access data from partial views. When a partial view is instantiated, it receives a copy of the parent's view data dictionary. Updates made to the data within the partial view aren't persisted to the parent view. Okay, view data changes in a partial view are lost. Partial view returns. You can pass a model into a partial view. The model can be a custom object. You can pass model partial async. Right? How do I actually use it? Oh, I cannot share it, huh? Here is a string. From pages. Good. Instead, pull this one level higher. Might actually be the better solution. Then we have a model patience, and remove this fun stuff. Not sure where this view back is coming from anyway. It's gonna be fine. And in here we now say we'll render this partial with scheme. Scheme. We have to use add. That didn't work. Type of namespace name could not be found. Where do we get this authentication schemes anyway? Somebody has to reference them, right? Yeah, we already referenced this one. This variable should be in there. Can you find it now? Nope. Okay. Oh, because I'm using schemes with an S. Yeah, it's just one authentication scheme. So that should be it. The name scheme does not exist in the current context. Model name. Note. Still not working. That seems to be alright. Have it on the layout as well. I need to remove it from the layout, I think, for a brief moment. Bats. And now on the layout, partial. Not sure how we do this. Change set. At the very least, we have one. I'm still not sure where this dot comes from, to be honest. But we now know how to pass data. For view. Is the login partial? Ah, the sign-in partial. Where does this dot come? There is no dot in here. This marker. Where does that come from? Bootstrap colon marker. Ah, because of the list item. File type. Strug is a good. Oh, there we go. Right. Another problem. Now from here we can sign in again. One and password. Eventually see our page. Very nice. Let's stage all of that. We, however, have to somehow get this partial work. How do we do that? Problem is that the layout now needs navigation. Do you even know anything about that? How to inject, to have a dynamic layout in a sense. In particular, change things in the navigation bar depending on which page is actually loaded. Razor Pages or ASP.NET. That would be great. We cannot just push the sign in partial stuff down to the login partial, which is sign in partial is also a terrible name. This is actually auth provider. Externally. And wherever we use sign in partial, that you if right. We pass data down. Do we have anything on the HTTP? Oh, we do. Don't. Oh, we don't. So where do we call this? I think an index model. Yes, in here we call get external providers async on the HTTP context. I think we have access to the context in here by using add context dot pieces async function. Async for loop razor a new DB context was dependency use it. That doesn't help either. That's not quite what I want. I don't think. First, can I call this? Oh, cookie not found. There we go. We have an error. Correlation failed. external providers async. Context doesn't contain a definition of getX. Oh, it does. I'm extending it. Possible extension method. It does. Damn it. Ah, because I'm not using the extensions. That's probably it. Using extensions. Do it again. Do it again. We're doing it again. Doing it again. That seems to have worked. So we can just write the logic inside of here to inject now async. Hector, I was in a meeting, thanks for this. Sorry, I have to go. But I'll be back later. I have a few questions, but I will ask it. Alright, thank you for joining in. Have a nice evening. Time, right? Not sure in which time zone you are, but still. Here's to you. I will finish soonish, so I might be back tomorrow, but I don't know yet. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Very generous of you. Here's to you. Also, have some tea. Some more. Yay! Tea! Nice. Goodbye, Hector. See you around. So get external providers async. We want to use at for each item in collection. Can I just say this? Does that work? Created task returns what he says. That looks promising. It looks promising. And now we can just use this, call this one scheme. We call the model is equal to scheme. Not sure whether we need to add. And reload. Oh, there we go. API, async, non-blocking API. This async method lacks await operators and will run synchronously. Ah, that's a different one. Didn't work. It didn't work. Do I have the login partial still linked? Oh, yeah, okay. That explains why it's not working. Oh, it works. Look at it. We can just call await at context for var scheme in await context.get external providers, I think. Sweet. And I would like to change. Where was the other one that I added this? Yeah, I would like to call this add scheme. So does it work? it does show, but that doesn't mean that it actually works, right? Sign in. Oh, we're in! Look at it! It's amazing! Hash, password. It's amazing! Ah. Well, it kind of works. Sweet! Now at least it doesn't explode anymore here and there. We also know how to use variables and partials. So that's another one. Feature, what did we actually do? What was the task that we told trainer route if logged in? Ah, we started with that. We got that one actually fixed pretty easily. Oh, wait. It's not working the way that we want to do. Because we want to only show this at if user dot is identity dot is authenticated. I think we need a question mark there, and we do a question mark false. So, and if we are not authenticated, we should now not see this button anymore. Well, yeah, it's gone. Very nice. If I log in, EM1, W. There it is. Sweet! It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's starting to come together. Not sure whether we want it on the left side, on the right side. I need to look at some designs and actually think about design. Finally, we're back in a position where I can think about designs. Oh, can you believe it? I can't. I think we have to do another export here on this side. Partial export. So feature show trainer route plus fix weird redirect loop on log for logged out user. Alright. Take that one. Put into here. Save. How much has changed? Well, not too much. Forget it. Default groups. Hey, you can actually read this. There it is. Something was removed. SPNet regular. Oh, are these actual users? No, these are realms. What? Roles. Realm. Well, I guess it's fine. It seems to be working. Okay, Swedish. I mean sweet by that. So we can now We have our landing page, which looks awesome. It does not include the cats, in fact, if you wondered. Maybe they are just static. That one. The expiring token is still. So we have our great landing page. We can register. We can. Let's do that. Today is the 0825. 0825. Email is 0825 at time.com. Username is 0825. And the password is this, and the password is that. Sign in. We get an email from Keycloak. So all of this part is now in Keycloak. We go to, in this case, it's localhost 8025, where our SMTP fake server is running. Verify email. Yes, verify. And then, no, we go to the wrong page. That directed us to the wrong page. Damn it. It is anonymous, so it should have redirected us to the other page. Well, it still works, kind of. You can click on the login button and then you log in and you see your Pokemon. Very nice. And if you just sign in and you take, for example, Ash, who actually has some data, you sign in, you see your actual data. Then, if you go to admins/trainer, you cannot find it. But if you log in with the right name, you will be able to, if you're an administrator, you will be actually able to see the rights and all of the other stuff like edit and whatnot. Awesome. Well, it's empty. That doesn't look correct. Well, something for another day. Let's log out. Things that we still have to do is fix the cookie expiration. Things are broken on that front. Other than that, things are coming together. Kind of got the framework, now we can actually start doing most of the fun stuff. And with it, let's push it to the remote. And I thank you so much for joining. Hope to see you next time in the TypeScript Tea Time. Currently we're doing a .NET application with ASP.NET, C#, and it's called the Pokemon Team Manager. See you next time, everybody. Maybe tomorrow, maybe another time. Bye then.